Cougar fans, use this radio station tomorrow morning for important news updates. Listen to Utah's most important radio station tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Cougar Nation, and it's always sponsored by Central Bank. We appreciate Central Bank being on board with us the entire season. We hope to have 2 more shows. Well, actually, that'd be what? Maybe 3 more shows? I'm thinking this out through here, but hopefully we got an extended period.
If they get to the Natty, it would take over the show.
Yeah. So I'm hoping this thing continues on at a minimum. Guaranteed 1 more show after this week. But if the Cougs get through this weekend, we'll continue to have these shows. And we will be in Newark, New Jersey. We'll have coverage out there from Newark, BYU, and Alabama. Tip-off at 5:09 p.m., which will only be on 102.7 FM and 1160 AM. Keep that in mind. No online stream on KSLNewsRadio.com. The KSL News Radio app, the KSL Sports app. Got some emails this weekend about that. Just remember, it's over the air. It's because of the NCAA, so just a programming note there. BYU and the Crimson Tide, Matt, number 6 versus number 2. Kind of similar vibes to 2011, the last visit to the Sweet 16. Get by the second round in Denver. Then what awaits you? A trip in another couple time zones against an SEC team. 2011, they faced Florida, a 2 seed. This year, it's a 2 seed in Alabama, the number 1 scoring offense in college basketball. It's going to be a high-powered offensive game. What can BYU do to pull the upset and take down the Crimson Tide?
They just got to shoot the ball well. I think it's that simple. Alabama will likely score north of 80 points in this game. But this is the type of matchup that I feel like favors BYU. They're not a good defensive team. They'll be the worst defense they've seen this postseason. And I think that bodes well. It was clear to me in that Wisconsin game that BYU felt insanely comfortable. And Kevin Young even talked about that post-game. He said, when we looked at the film, we felt like we could score. That wasn't going to be a problem. And I feel like that's going to be the same takeaway here is we're going to be able to score on these guys. Alabama's best player, Mark Sears, he's small. Dallin Hall and Yegor, that is a mismatch for BYU on the offensive end. They'll be able to do whatever they want against Mark Sears. And they've got wings on the perimeter that I don't think are all that athletic. Is it Grant Nelson or Nielsen?
Grant Nelson.
Grant Nelson, banged up, good player.
He did return against St. Mary's, got back into the starting lineup.
But there's no way he's 100%. And even at 100%, I think he's a really high-level college player, but he's not an athletic freak. We're not talking Cooper Flagg here by any stretch of the imagination. I just like the way that BYU's trending. They're winners of 11 of their last 12. Alabama, coming into the tournament, had a losing record, 4-5 in their last 9. And then I also think, too, this can't be discounted. BYU is playing loose. The monkey is off the back, to quote Steve Young. Take the monkey off the back. That happened against VCU. From here on out, they're loose, but yet confident. Whereas Alabama, I think there is pressure there with the seed. I think there's pressure there with expectations. They were in the Final Four last year. Can they repeat that? Because in a lot of sections of college basketball, people thought Alabama improved the roster from last year. And so the expectation is Final Four at a minimum, get further. I just think pressure is an underrated component to college sports. We're not talking about pros here. You know, I just finished watching the Court of Gold documentary on Netflix where USA won the gold. Those dudes, they eat, drink, and sleep professional basketball. They can handle pressure. They can handle expectations. It's different at the college level, man, and all the pressure's on Alabama. BYU is playing free and loose, and I think that benefits them tremendously.
Alabama has some athletes. They do have some good players. The freshman, LeBaron Philon is a all-SEC freshman team selection. Really good player, 6'4", 177 pounds. It's interesting when you look at Alabama, too. Bad defense statistically, but then you adjust it for the strength of their schedule. They've got the number 1 strength of schedule in college basketball. 5 of their 6 losses since the calendar turned to 2025 are against teams that are still in the Sweet 16. So when they lose, it's to good teams. BYU is a really good team, too. But, you know, Alabama is an excellent offense. I mean, they are so good. And it's interesting with Nate Oates, their head coach, his Noah's Ark that he was involved with, I think him and Bennett when he was at Virginia. that got carried over to BYU, and Mark Pope was there. The Noah's Ark, the analytics thing in the Marriott Center Annex, really heavy into analytics. I mean, Nate Oates, and I think Kevin Young, too. I mean, these are two coaches. What I like about this matchup is that it's two head coaches that are on the cutting edge of basketball. They're a couple steps ahead of everyone else right now. I believe Kevin Young's ahead of the pack.
No doubt.
Even though he's a one-year college coach, he's got a support system and his knowledge. He's ahead of the curve when it comes to trends in basketball. Man, I think the coaching matchup's going to be awesome in this game. I honestly, Matt, I think this is going to be a game where both teams maybe hit 100. I just think the offense is going to be elite, and the tempo is going to be off the charts. It's going to come down to the defense. But I do think that Alabama, their depth is pretty good. It's not quite BYU good in terms of the willingness to go 10, 11 guys, but they had 6 players scoring double figures against St. Mary's. They got guys that can fill it up as much as BYU can. You just wonder if Alabama, they've been at this stage, like the second weekend, the Final Four. Is BYU feeling like, okay, great year. We're legends now. We're already arrived. Is this enough? Like, I know they're saying the right things. They want more, but Alabama's been to this stage where BYU hasn't.
I do feel like in a close game, I give the edge to BYU because I believe in their ability to get a stop or two in a sub 2-minute situation where I'm not confident that Alabama can consistently in those situations. BYU has so many actions and so many players they can rely on. So it's a fascinating matchup. I think the key to BYU in this game is you have to start strong again. I loved what Dallin Hall said post-game in the win against Wisconsin. He said BYU got after Wisconsin early. Here's Dallin Hall talking about their start against the Badgers.
Yeah, I thought we came out and punched them. We went on some runs, and they went on some runs, and that's basketball, but we always responded. So I love our fight, and I love what we're able to do.
They need to do that again because Alabama is such a good offensive team. If they don't start well, they could be looking at a double-digit deficit. And that's BYU has not played super great in that situation this year. Went down a lot, finding their rhythm and going on big runs. So starting early is going to be important for them.
It definitely is, and I think that Richie Saunders has got to be a superstar. He's got to have another 25-point game.
Yep.
I think BYU's got to shoot around 50%, 48, 50%. It's got to be a high clip.
Yep.
Alabama, they will get 90. It's going to happen. I just think that their offense, that's what they do. I mean, everyone they play, and they've played a great schedule, like I said. And I feel confident BYU can keep up and score a lot of points, but they've got to be getting the shots falling. Trevin Knell has got to be really good for BYU. I always feel good when he is knocking down his threes and he gets to double figures. BYU seems to win quite often when Trevin Knell is shooting the ball at a high clip. He was excellent against Wisconsin. He finished with 14 points, 5 of 9 shooting from the field and 4 of 6 from 3. So it's going to be the whole group is got to be excellent. This is not one of those games where I feel like you got a wide margin for error. I feel like Wisconsin and VCU, you had margin for error. And BYU is a good enough team where they can overcome errors. They're not just like you have to be absolutely perfect, but I do believe that Alabama's offense is as good as advertised, and they are highly efficient. And I think that BYU cannot afford to have some 4 or 5 minute lull where you have a scoring drought and you're turning the ball over. Now, granted, Alabama, their profile does not suggest they generate turnovers. That's nice. BYU against Wisconsin, a team that doesn't generate turnovers either, Jaeger was 8-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. You have another night like that from Jaeger, you're going to be in a great spot to win this game. But I just feel like the experience, too, in this weekend, Nate Oates is getting Alabama to a level where they are annual contender to win it all. And you would have never thought that with Alabama hoops. This is a big-time program now. I kind of lean Alabama a little bit, but I just think BYU is going to be right there at the end, though. I think this is a toss-up game. This is going to be an excellent high-level college basketball game.
Going bold. I like BYU by 8. I don't think it'll be – I mean, it's going to be close. It's not going to be comfortable, but I don't think it's going to come down to the final possession. I think BYU, they ride the momentum. Their offense is playing good hoops, and I like the matchup in sense of BYU can hang with teams that can score.
Coverage from Newark coming up this week on KSLSports.com and the KSL Sports app. We'll talk to you this week from Newark.